Welcome everyone. Come on in and join us for what we hope is an absolute highlight of your Friday, of course. Welcome. Say hi to us in the chat. Tell us how your day is going. Feel free to tell us what you're up to on the weekend. We'll just let everyone filter in for a few more seconds and then we will get cracking because we've got a lot to get through today. So welcome and come on in, say hi, and we will we'll be starting very, very soon. Look, Cass is saying hi. I better say hi as well. All right, well, why? Hey, Gabrielle. Oh, Broom. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm a little bit jealous of that. It's freezing here in Fox. Amazing. All right, well, and hello from Warhope. Hey, Richard, love it. All right, so I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment while we welcome our panelists for today. So firstly, thank you everyone for joining us for our XBert Unpacked session. Now, today's session is on our analytics and reporting. And what we are going to go through today, if this is your first Ask Us Anything session, basically, we have taken on board all of the questions, queries, comments, and things that people have said as we interact with them, have emailed us, have asked in the group, and we break those down for you today. But this session is highly interactive, and we want to hear from you. You will guide how we move through this session. So as we are explaining things, please feel free to ask, to say slow down, to say repeat that, to say tell me more about this. There is no such thing as a dumb question, and we want you to get the most value out of this, all right? So please, please, please ask us anything. That's why the session is called that, because we value your time and want to make sure that this is a highly valuable session for you. So on that note, I have two absolute legends with us today. We have Chief Data Scientist, Steve, like Mega Brain, Steve, who actually is the creator of our analytics and reporting. So if you want to know the details, this is your guy. And we also have Cass, our amazing expert practice consultant, industry legend, and absolute knowledge, also super brain. I was going to say I was superstar, but we can go with either of those. We are so lucky to have Cass on our team, and you probably have heard of her because most people have, and she helps to guide us from an industry perspective and help us with our best practice. And she's also available to help teach and guide you as well. So, oh gosh, love it. So that is who you've got. And of course, I am Tegan, I'm the chatty one, and I am here to just facilitate this session and to help us get the most out of it. And heads up, we also have a hidden co-founder in the chat as well. Aaron is joining us off camera because he is working remotely, and he will be answering questions through the chat as well. So as we get into it, please do feel free, use the chat, use the Q&A, and ask us anything you want to know. And we will do our best to answer as we go. But if we don't, we'll circle back where it fits in, okay? So please keep asking, and I'll keep coming back and forth with you as well so that you know that we've seen it and we're on it. All righty, so I'm going to share my screen again right now, and I'll talk you through what's coming up next. So, better make it back into a presentation. Oh, I don't know why it's not doing. Hang on. Coming up as a presentation. Oh, there we go. That's better. All right. So if you have joined us before, here is how we are progressing through these sessions. And this is also how you generally will progress through your setup and using XBert and getting to know the product. So we're here. And we've covered in our first session. You need to go back and check it out. It is available on demand. So please do let me know if you'd like a copy. Our AI audits, that was our first session. We went through all of that. Lots of questions in there for that, for you for that one. Then we actually came down here in our second session and we covered the Xero Practice Manager. Following on, we did workflow automation and how our AI audits and our experts actually supercharge the workflow automation like you never see anywhere else. And today we're on to our BI and analytics reporting. And so we're going to be covering for you practice level reports and also our client level reports. Now, we're not just going to cover them in a kind of theoretical way. We're actually going to show you specifically how you can use them in your practice specific to your scenarios. So again, if we're explaining something, you're like, oh, hang on, what about this? Please do ask those questions. They're really valuable. And if you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it as well. So probably should tell you one more thing before we start. If you are a user of XBert, these reports will only work on your connected files. So you might hear us harp on about the importance of having your files connected. Here's one of the reasons why. Now, not only having those files connected with our alerts is like having a part-time bookkeeper working for you, doing all those manual checks for you. It also is how we pick up the data for our reporting features. So know that this is only working on your connected files. This is really, really important if you want to get the full benefit that you have all of those files connected. So on that note, Steve, would you like to get us cracking? I'll ask the first question, and it is, we're starting right at the top. Actually, sorry, Steve, while you start asking questions, or while you start explaining, I am going to ask one more question of our users. I forgot that I usually do that. So the first question is actually to you guys. I'll stop sharing my screen and I've launched a poll there. And what we'd like to know is, are you using XBert yet? Are you in trial, or are you a current user? Because that's how we will make sure that we are sharing the information to the level that you are currently at. All right. Oh, wow. High five, guys. We've got nearly 80% current users. I love that. See, Steve, your analytics are a big hit. I'll leave that up there. I like to try and get at least 80% of the people who are joining us live to tell us where they're at in case they're sleeping. But so please don't be shy. Please do tell us. And then I'll pull that poll down in a minute. But Steve, do you want to get us started? And the first question is, what are our analytics and what are our reporting features? What are they for?
Yeah, so and welcome everyone, and to anyone who's new to XBert out there, a very special welcome. And I suppose analytics, you know, a lot of people think of it as just reporting. It's actually a bit more than that in XBert. It involves a lot of obviously traditional reports that you might sort of be familiar with from you know, other platforms, but also a lot of interactivity and being able to sort of identify trends and spot things of interest to your practice. So it sort of goes above and beyond just your traditional reporting. There's a lot of reports. They're organized into what we call practice level reports and client reports. And just if you're new to XBert, just where to find them, there's an analytics option just in the screen here. You'll land on work, but analytics is where they all sit. And you can see our list of practice reports here and our list of client reports just in here. Difference, obviously, the client reports, they run for just the one client. So they're the ones that you can actually share with your client as well. You can actually launch some of the client reports out of our new client screen in the client analytics. You'll see that some of the little visuals here will have a little hand appear, and you can click on them and actually launch reports directly from the client screen as well. So that's broadly what they are. Obviously covers, you know, a lot of different sets of data, and we're going to sort of, I guess, focus on three key you know, uses of reports. You know, how you might use them at your practice. And the first one, and one we get so much interest about, is, you know, how do I use XBert, use the analytics to help me price my clients, to set fees for my clients. Now, this could be for new or potential clients, you're sort of onboarding them. It could be for existing clients that get renewed on a yearly or perhaps a more frequent basis. So let's have a little look at that. Why would we want to have expert analytics helping us with this? Basically because of the data. If you can engage your clients with, great data supporting evidence, that's going to build some credibility and trust. It's going to make your fees seem reasonable and fair as well. So, you've got to think of in your client's shoes, they're trying to make an evaluation of you and your services. If you can make that easy for them, then that's a win for everyone. All right, so let's talk about new clients first. There's a report called the Health Check. You can launch it. It's a client report, so it can be launched here. You can see it just sitting down the bottom there. You can also get to it via the client screen. Click on the little heart sort of slider here, and you can see it sitting just there. So I've just got it open for a sort of fictitious client at the moment called Future Practice. And we're on the summary page now. There's a lot going on, so I'll pick a little bit of it apart for you. I mean, the first thing that obviously stands out is that data quality score. So with all the checks that are happening within XBert, more than 75 of them, data quality checks, automated, running across all your client files every day, actually multiple times a day. And the end result of that is an overall score for a client. How good does or bad does their data quality look? And in this case, we're looking at sort of the last full year. So 57%, obviously orange, that means it's lower than what we would think is good. We've got a sort of an 85% marker there. That's what you need to target as a minimum. Obviously, anything above that's good, and then below it, you really got to take some action. I mean, you can even have a 90% score, still have, outstanding data quality issues to address, but that's sort of our sort of minimum standard. Plenty of other things in this report page, but essentially you're looking at overall size and complexity of a client. So you've got your new client, you're trying to understand, what am I about to take on? What am I onboarding? What will I need to fix? How much is going on in their Xero Mob or QuickBooks file in terms of activity? So you're getting in this sort of one page, really, you're getting this complete overview of what you're taking on. This one here in the middle, this little table, also very important to sort of point out. This is the proof of spend. So this is where, you might have a client that's not really attaching proof of purchases, receipts, whatever they might be, to things like bills or spend money bank transactions. So if there's a lot of that lacking, you've got a lot of work kind of coming your way to get everything sorted. So this is your summary. If you want to get a bit more detailed into it and understand what, for example, what goes into that 57%. A lot of the reports have, in fact, the majority have multiple pages. You can see them down the bottom here, just like Excel, really. So if I go into the data quality page, that 57%, that's coming from what you see on screen here. There were 39 issues relating to tax found, 2 in payroll, 11 significantly overdue bills and invoices. So this is giving you that detail as to what goes into that 57% score. And you can share this with your client. You can share this entire report, or you might even just print this particular page to PDF and say, look, here's what we're going to be taking on. This is what I'm going to help you with, if you come on as a customer. Now, whether you, whether you share with them that you've also got XBert to help you auto resolve a lot of these, that's entirely up to you. But obviously XBert makes not only the finding, but the resolving of all these issues significantly easier and faster. So if that's new clients, there's also the sort of concept of existing clients and understanding the activity that's going on in their financial system and whether that's increasing or not. So we're sort of now talking about not so much the initial engagement with the client, but a renewal or something of that nature. And I should point out too, I suppose, a lot of these renewals, we hear that they're sort of done yearly, perhaps end of financial year. They don't necessarily have to. I mean, you'd have to negotiate this with your clients, but if you've got the data and the capability to very easily look into activity and to see the trend, for example, of your client becoming much more busy, more transactions for you to sort of manage, that sort of thing, you can be on top of that a lot sooner than having to wait for next financial year and having the conversation then. So we'll go have a look at another report. This one's called Activity Count. Now, I'd recommend probably using the practice level report in this case, just so you can get a bit of comparison going between clients. But you see it just sitting down here, activity count, so in the practice set. And I'll just open it up here. I've just picked a fictitious client out of my list here, and I'm looking for trends or anything that might sort of indicate a change in the normal operations of the client. So you look at this summary page, you get a bit of a feel for it. There's not really much going on here in terms of total activity. I would sort of probably point out the payroll. I'd probably look at that and go, seems like payroll's maybe increasing a bit. So you might want to consider that. And then after I've got that sort of little bit of information, I'd probably go to the client comparison page, which is this third one just here. There's other pages to sort of really dig into the detail, but it's probably for another time to discuss. But if we go in here and, we've picked that same client again, I think was Breathe Wholly, and we've picked a few other clients as well, just to sort of see how they compare. Now, this could be useful if you wanted to sort of say, okay, well, I've looked at these other ones. I'm pretty happy with the fees I'm charging. It's profitable. I'm not getting any surprises, that sort of thing. How does Breathe Wholly sit in amongst that? And you can see it sort of, sits about in the middle of these other ones. So you've now got that other little bit of information where you've compared a client, potentially one you're about to renew, with some others that you think are going okay. Or you could do the reverse, ones that are not going okay, and say, well, we need to price accordingly based on those transactions. So just to sort of recap, this is a practice report. So this is not one you would share with a client. However, there is a client specific version of the activity count report that you could share if you so desired.
And Steve, we've just had a question come in from Nicole, and Nicole, she's asking around the date range of the activity count with the date selector. She's not loving the options that are currently provided. So can you talk around where that is, what's currently available, and potentially what's being considered?
Yeah, for sure. So and you'll see this across many different reports, there's this sort of sidebar that contains any number of ways to sort of filter the report. There's usually always a date in there somewhere. In this case, we've got fiscal year, and we've got some selections here for the year itself, and obviously then the quarters and then the months below that. Some reports you'll see will actually have some additional filters out over here under this little filter pane. There's none in this one, but what we can add in there, and it's really not too much trouble to do so. So if you've got any ideas for it, just let us know. But what we often put in there are things like a relative date filter. So you might say, I just want this to be for the last 30 days or the last 200 days, the last 6 months, those sorts of things. So we can.
Nicole's asked for the calendar year, Steve. So
So
I'm assuming that the quick fix for that before anything else is even coming in is drilling down to that month level and just selecting the months within that calendar year as opposed to but please keep going, because that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly have like a calendar year type hierarchy added over here in the filter pane. That's we'll capture all these questions and requests, I suppose, and certainly adding a few more filters in is no trouble at all. You can get very specific. We've got some clients, particularly in the task reporting, they like to get in and do very specific date ranges up to sort of yesterday, but then only 90 days prior, and they do all kinds of combinations of filters for their specific reporting requirements. So yeah, there's plenty of options in there, and if you don't see the one you like, just let us know, and chances are we'll be able to get it in there pretty quick.
And I do love that about us. I really, really love how responsive our team are to making sure that XBert is running as efficiently and as specifically as our users would like it to be. I think, with so many online platforms, that's not often the case. So I really do love that about us. Thank you, Steve, for that introduction. Please keep the questions coming. Everyone loved that. Nicole, I'll pop our Canny link into the chat in a moment, so that if you would like to make any requests, anyone at all, at any point in time, that's the quickest way that you can do it, because then you'll be able to see the stuff that's already been suggested. You can upvote things that you would like to see, and that's how the team actually decide the next things to focus on. So please, 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 we are always all ears, and we want to hear how we can make XBert even better for you. So Cass, over to you now. We've done a bunch of sessions together, and one of the things I love is hearing you explain how you use our reporting and all the features really, but in your onboarding of new clients. I love where you've taken that. So do you want to talk about your experience and how you use the reports in your practice?
Yeah, sure. Before I do, I'll just jump in and answer that question that Richard's popped in about the terminology and labelling used for the client totals. Richard, when you're working on it in your own file, if you're hovering over those bars, you'll actually get, thank you, Steve, the highlight about what those segmentations actually represent. Is that what you were unsure about? If you can just pop yes or no in there for me, that'd be great. Yep, perfect, lovely. So yeah, in the live file, you'll be able to see visually what it is you're hovering over and what the data represents. So that's great. Yeah, so how do we use the reports? So one of the first reports that we use is actually the health check report for clients when we start to engage with them. I'm sure we've all had those clients that sit and tell us when we have that initial phone call that their file is really simple, doesn't have a lot of complexity. They're really, really, really good at uploading all of their source documents, and it's in perfect condition, but they desperately need you to help them out as the bookkeeper. So we jump in and we connect the client's file, obviously with their permission. Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Definitely tears in the eyes some days with that. With the client's permission, we connect the client's file into Xero. We give it about 24 to 48 hours to chug away and do its magic behind the curtain. And then we come in and we have a look at the health report, or the health check report. And that really starts to give us some great insights around what the reality of the data quality is, as opposed to the perspective of data quality from the client's view. This then gives us a couple of different options. And I want to say we actually charge for this service as well. And we use it as a little bit of a leverage for our clients. So they might come to us. We then do the pricing strategy off of this, but we charge them for the service because it's obviously taking our time, it's taking our expertise and knowledge to interpret what's there. In some instances, we might say if you do finally sign up to us for work, we'll rebate that back to you. So we don't refund it or reduce the cost of it, but we rebate it off of the first bill that we're perhaps sending out the door. So it gives us, the client, a real incentive to continue to engage with us off of the insights that we've picked up out of this report, the conversations that we can have with them pre-engagement, the conversations that we can then start to have with them around the pricing structure that we've put in place, and what we can then continue to do for them moving forward. So yeah, the health check report for us is a great report. And then we leverage off of the information that's actually in the data quality tab in there, and almost rabbit that back to the clients as part of the review that we do. You know, we can sort of very specifically focus in on where we need to look at actions, where the greatest areas of risk are, where the greatest value is in remediating those risks, and also the level of intensity around a risk. So, you know, something that you may not have attached one document out of 5,000 is a really, really low level risk. But then having a look at your tax related risk checks where you might have ABN numbers that are missing or incorrect GST coding, that's got a much higher risk profile back to the client in the event that they're tapped on the shoulder by the ATO. So we can really focus our conversation with the client. We then leverage that off of the knowledge that we have of their industry and can put a comprehensive proposal together for them around it. So yeah, real value in this data. And again, I made the comment earlier, it becomes a baseline as well for the work that we do with a client. So we might run this report today and be able to, you know, see where it's at. We are then engaged by the client, whether it's to just do a fix up initially or to do provide ongoing services in, you know, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. We can run these reports again and get a comparative analysis of how their file risks have actually changed and how their data integrity has increased significantly.
Yes, I love that so much. And I do think it's so valuable and such an effective way to start the conversation with a potential client around having their files connected to XBert, because you are able to look like an absolute legend, show them exactly where they're at, what their risk potentially is, all of that stuff, and then say to them, look, as part of our pricing structure, we actually use this ongoing so that you're you know, we're reducing the risk to you. Your files are constantly being audited and checked, and you're going to be through us, you know, we'll be alerted to any potential issues, risks, threats, so they can see the value straight up in having that, and then being able to share those white label reports with them ongoing through the client journey. That it's more the ROI report shows you just how valuable it is.
It is. And then linking this to the activity volume as well. So the volume of transactions, as Steve's indicated, it starts to provide you a really good benchmark about where you're pitching your pricing, particularly with other clients. You know what sort of volume of transactions are going through. You've got the split between months. So you know whether they've got, you know, are they on an upwards trajectory? Are they on a downwards trajectory? Do they have peaks and troughs across the year? So it starts to inform you around those sorts of activities from a client perspective as well. And again, that all comes together in a pricing. But the other thing that it really enables much more strongly is the concept of fixed fee pricing. So you're able to sort of step into that probably at times at an earlier point that you may have been able to do previously, because you haven't had the visualization of this data at this level before. The other comment I would make around it too is the monthly fee for a connected client. You'll know what that monthly fee is going to be, and you're actually able to include that as part of your fixed fee pricing structure as well. The client may not necessarily see that you've included this in there, but when you're having the conversation with them, you're talking about the value proposition that you're feeding back to the client, not just the, you're talking about the value proposition, you're talking about the outcomes you're achieving, but you don't need to get into that it's going to take me 2 hours to do this and I'm selling it on an hourly rate. You are selling a holistic service to that client that is inclusive of data, of processing, of compliance, of whatever it is that builds up your package. So yeah, think about it quite strategically in that sense as well.
And we've always got you back in that too, because no matter whether you're in trial or not, you can always connect any new files for free for 7 days. And you know, if you are having those conversations with a potential new client, we do recommend get those files connected as soon as possible. So before you have that next initial meeting, you'll know exactly what you're working with, so that you do have the confidence to have those conversations with them and then included in there. And with the fixed fee pricing stuff, you know, I think one of the things that are so valuable around that is that we think, oh, well, you know, if we're using all this technology, we're going to get the stuff done faster and I charge an hourly rate. Where no. This is your efficiency. This is your opportunity to create better work-life balance for you and to set a fee. And whether it was a human doing it or a robot or whatever, you are able to provide a service to a super high level because of all of the files being checked. It doesn't matter how long it took you. it's the value that you're creating. So you have the potential to charge more, but to do less manual work yourself. And then you're increasing your capacity to take on more clients, to grow your business, or to just work less if you're at a level that you like what you're earning, but you just don't want to have to do all the things that drive you insane. So love that. Yes. Charge more, do less. High five.
Yep. But certainly, you know, take a copy of the reports when you first do work with your clients and save them down to your document management systems and use them as a point of reference. They're particularly valuable too when you're renewing. And, you know, I pick up Nicole's comment about renewing agreements with clients on a calendar year basis rather than a financial year basis. And that would probably be a number one tip I'd pass out there. We have got so much to do at end of financial year. Why burden ourselves with that as well, where we do it in a calendar year basis. But as an example, we took on a client probably about 3 years ago, and, you know, fell for the, yes, my file's in a really good state, priced it accordingly, and then realized that the volume of work was actually significantly higher. And it was great to be able to sit with the client and run this report and say, well, you know, yes, our fees have almost doubled for you. And it was like, why? And we were able to say, you know, quite conclusively that basically the tempo of work that we quoted on initially was understated, and we are now quoting on the tempo of work that we're actually delivering. And the client went, yeah, okay, not a problem, and signed the re-engagement. So it really does facilitate those conversations quite nicely, and not in a way where it's just you telling the client. It provides you with sort of some empirical data to actually leverage off of as well.
I might jump in to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, so just sort of picking up what Cassandra's saying there, and a couple other reports to prove the value to clients. So these are both client level reports. The first one is really around the zero users out there, the zero files. So if your clients are on zero, you can really dig into using this zero user activity report. You can dig into the detail as to what you've done. I've just got this set to last financial year, but obviously we could do other date filters around that as well. Just some fictitious random names here, but you know, if you look at this top person here, in the last financial year, they've done best part of 1,300 actions within zero, and that's split across these particular, you know, business functions. And you can drill into those and say, well, what were the 100 invoice actions I did? Here they all are. You know, I've sent this many invoices, I've paid these, I've approved these. So it's that evidence that allows you to go back to the client. And so if you've just had this big year with a client, you can prove it to them. You can say, well, here's what I've done in your accounting system. And actually, you can even go a step further than that. There's another user activity report called the XBert user activity. And again, looking at what actions you've taken in XBert to identify, resolve data quality issues. And, you know, if we explored, you know, this particular person down here, let's say this was you, and, you know, these perhaps your team members up here, 811 different actions in the last financial year. What were they? You can get right into those as well. You can see where the big ones were. You know, this one here, there's lots of ABN fix-ups that were done. You know, GST activity for contacts without ABNs, and obviously all of the 75 plus different checks are in there. So, you know, you've got what you're doing in the accounting system in Xero. You've got proof of what you've been doing in XBert as well, even broken down into what types of actions you're doing within XBert for those data quality issues. And then combined with, there's another report called the data quality report. Now, you can go into this and here's your whole practice, drill into perhaps one of those clients and say, well, I took these actions in Xero, I did these other things in XBert, or, you know, however you want to describe that, took these data quality initiatives. And what does that actually mean for you? Well, here's all the things I've fixed. So you come down here, I'm just using control click here to deselect the unresolved work. So what have I actually done? Well, it's everything else. 105 different data quality issues within purchases just in FQ1 were resolved. So, and then you can drill further and further into that if your client, likes that sort of thing. But I guess so just going back to what Cassandra is saying, just be able to back up all your conversations with your client with real data, being able to share that with them if you so desire. It really helps tell that story and support you in fairly and accurately pricing your client initially, and then obviously ongoing as well.
Amazing. Thanks, Steve. And look, time flies when you're having fun. We've already been going for over half an hour and we aim to keep these sessions short. But I hope this so far, and we'll keep going for a little bit longer, but as I mentioned in the chat, we do try and keep these short. If you do need to duck off, please do feel free, because you will receive a copy of the recording early next week. And I will also chuck in there the links to the previous sessions that we've done if you do want to share or review those again. And I hope you can see or are getting a feeling of that, the peace of mind and just the value that you can see in how you are managing the services that you offer by having all of this at your fingertips throughout looking after your clients right from the start. Now, that is just one part of what you do. Obviously, clients are a high priority, but the team that you work with and how you manage your own business is also really integral in your success. So, Steve, do you want to talk us a bit more through some of the practice level reports, seeing team capacity, where everyone is at? And then Cass, once Steve's given us the overview and told us the things, and again, if anyone has any questions, just like Nicole did before, about what's there, how do we use other things, please tell us, because we can drill right down into that. And then Cass will give us the examples of how she's using them in her practice. And how cool is it to see, by the way, that it is really, really cool that we are so responsive, and anything that we do want to get started anywhere in the product, we reach out to current users to help guide us in doing that. So I hope you and Aaron get to connect offline and you get to be part of that new possible integration for South Africa. But Steve, if you want to take us over some of the practice level stuff.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Tegan. So, we just spoke about looking at activity, within Xero, within XBert in terms of the actions taken with data quality. I was sort of homing in on saying, well, if that's just you, but think of it as your whole team in terms of what they're doing in Xero, what they're doing in XBert. Now we're sort of looking at the report that we've got up on screen now is called the Tasks and Processes report. It's a practice report. It sort of really hones in on the tasks side of things. So if you imagine experts checking for more than 75 different potential data quality issues across your practice and all its clients, this is where we're sort of looking into all the recurring and ad hoc work that's managed in addition to the data quality side of things as well. So this is a summary page. You'll notice there's lots of pages in this particular report. We'll just have a look at a few of them. Start on the summary, because it gives you that really good sort of overview, particularly these three sort of summary boxes at the top here in terms of what's getting completed on time, overdue, and yet to be completed, again for a particular date range. We've got lots of date range filters here. We've got start dates, due dates, so you can sort of go pretty specific on a lot of that. So start on the summary page, see how it's tracking over time, again with trends. This looks pretty normal, getting towards, if you assume that this data went up to sort of the current month, you'd expect less completed in the current month. So let's take a little look at drilling into this by manager. So if you've got a team at your practice and you've got people managing different clients, this is a particular what would be of particular importance to you, and you can kind of drill into this. And it's one thing to sort of know, okay, Michael's done this or it's completed this much, but how's that looking over time? Is it getting better or worse? So if we pick, let's say, Jonathan here, who's a manager, and we say, okay, for this financial year, overall, 88% completed on time, not much overdue, and a little bit sort of still outstanding. So how's that looking over time? Let's drill down a bit further. And we can see, yep, looking pretty good, pretty consistent, actually, in terms of the completed on time. And actually, stuff getting completed overdue looks to be reducing. So all good. If we have a look at someone else, let's have a look at Michael and see what he's been up to. We can see that, yeah, less tasks, but actually not looking too bad, not looking too bad. And you can do that with any other manager, of course. And then if you want to zoom in on a particular person, so perhaps a manager looks after a certain number of clients with several people helping. But if you're just a one or two practice outfit, then you might just come straight down to the per user or by user completion and look at what's been happening there as well. Same sort of thing, just drill into a person and see over time whether things are improving or not. Now, if you don't have a huge team, this page is perhaps not as important, but what would be your task completion by client. So again, we're sort of splitting everything by what's been completed on time, overdue, and yet to be completed. You might have certain service level agreements that each month, work is done, on time to a particular standard, and actually that's a real, scenario. A lot of XBert subscribers as actual practices. So again, if we're looking to say one of these clients and just look over time, what's been happening, completing on time, started pretty poor, has gone very well up to November, and then started to tail off. So is there something that we need to look at for that client? And actually what you might do is you might take it a bit further and say, okay, well, I've looked at it by person, I've looked at it by client. Perhaps there's something in my processes, which are often sort of interchangeable with your services that you provide. Is there anything that's actually going on in a particular service that's perhaps not going as well as it should? So, if we pick this one here, which is BAS and IAS and payroll tax, and we say, okay, well, how's this looking? Overall, only 66% is getting completed on time. And that might not be good enough. So you might need to drill into that and say, okay, well, what's happening there? Who are the people involved? And you might look at Jonathan again and see that within that process, there's quite a bit of variation as to what's happening. Now, that may or may not be Jonathan's fault. It could be something to do with that process. Could be too much work going in for the due dates expected. But at least having the data, you can understand way more than just was it done on time or not. You can see what's happening over time. You can see who's involved, which processes are contributing to something that may not be getting done on time as much as you want.
Thanks, Steve. That is incredibly knowledgeable. And Cass, would you like to bring us home, because we do need to start to wrap up. So as Cass talks, any last questions that you would like us to cover, please pop them in the chat. We'll be wrapping up really soon.
Yeah, thanks, Tegan. Look, this really just starts to unearth and open up visualization again of work being done within a practice in a way that's never been done before. You can use it as a team meeting conversation. As Steve was identifying, if there's something that's taking longer and not being completed, perhaps that's a training opportunity for you and your team. Perhaps your process needs to be refined. Perhaps your estimates in terms of how long it takes to complete need to be reviewed. So it really starts to give you some focus at a macro level within your practice around where roadblocks and pain points may potentially be, or where you're doing really, really well. We've certainly been able to identify this year around our STP finalisation process that we've been able to put some efficiencies into it. leveraging off of the automations in XBert, but seeing how we're progressing much more simply than we have been previously. So it's a case of really embracing, if you're a current user of XBert and you're not leveraging off of the workflows, hello, why not? It's brilliant. But once you start doing this, you're just going to be surfacing so much data without any effort to surface that data. So that's something as a practice owner I have struggled with over the years, and now it's at my fingertips. I do just want to jump back to one really, really gold nugget of utilization of XBert reports, and that's in the reports around the connected files. And one of them that Steve touched on very briefly was the zero user activity, and the conversation that comes out of that one is particularly if your clients have got their fingers in the files, really being able to identify in a simple way which users are actually undertaking work in the file and potentially touching things that they shouldn't be. And one of the ones that popped up on the screen, which sort of set my brain off, was the voided transactions, particularly. You know, I think all of us have been in situations where we've completed a financial year or a BAS quarter or something. Everything's been beautifully balanced, and then we come back in and we find it's out of whack. This is one really, really great simple way. And obviously you've got your zero audit reports, but this is also a really good way to see at a glance who's potentially been in the file and done things that they may not or should not have been touching. So that's my gold nugget for today as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Cass. Now, so we are going to wrap up now. As Aaron is just mentioning in the chat there are new practice reports and practice experts on the way. Yes, Nicole, you would definitely be interested. I believe you're already on the beta list, so you'll get the VIP preview. So thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I will just mention to you before we do head off, if you are new to XBert and you would like, or you're considering XBert and you would like some help setting up, we do have here we go, I'll launch that poll. We do have a program called our Fast Track. Now, our Fast Track program is where we work with you one-on-one to help you set up XBert. Both Cass and Steve and the amazing Soraya all assist with that, and they work in their areas of expertise to make sure that for you, XBert is customized to your services and your team and the way you work. So it is incredibly valuable. We all know that setting up a new system can sometimes be challenging, and it does take that work. So to have someone who has that knowledge holding your hand and keeping you accountable as well, because even though I said they do it with you, it's not all for you. You have to be involved as well. And it involves training and onboarding all of your staff as well. So usually the full price of that is $2,000, but it's 50% off at the moment. So it's only $1,000. And on top of that, you also get the first 3 months, 50% off all of your connected files. So you know how we've been saying the analytics and the reporting only works on those connected files? Well, you only pay half price for that for 3 months. So, you know, if you want to look at changing your pricing structures or growing your business or bringing on more clients, then having the capacity to have them connected for half price is absolutely invaluable. So if you would like any of our team to get in touch with you, if you're not yet using it and you just would like a one-on-one demo, just show me how this works for me, we absolutely can do that. So please do just click that, yeah, I want a one-on-one demo. If you're like, heck yes, I would love help, I want someone to help me get started, I got big goals and I want to get going, then just click the fast track one. Or as always, we're always here to help. So if you need help with something else, just click that option and we will get in touch with you for that as well. Awesome, Richard. Yes, absolutely. We will. Oh, you're already fast tracking. That's amazing. Well, as you can see, Steve is our absolute analytics expert. So I'm sure as part of that process, if you have not connected with him yet, you will be very, very soon. But thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. I will leave that poll running for just a few more seconds while we wrap up. So as I said, you will get a copy of this recording. All of the links and things we've shared in the chat will be included in that, and I will include the previous sessions for you as well. If you have not, or you're unsure, or you keep thinking about it and you think, yeah, maybe fast tracks for me, or yeah, maybe I do want a one-on-one session, please reach out to us in the chat anytime at all. Yes, we love robots and we use them to their fullest capacity, but they're actually humans in there as well, and we do get back to you really, really soon. Plus, also real human who sends you the probably 500 emails that you get from me. So always feel free to reply to me as well, and I can put you in touch with the correct team member. So I hope you got value out of today's session. I feel like we got deep in some elements, but we've only just scratched the surface in others, because there is so much that just this one feature of XBert can do, and that's only one of the many. So please keep exploring, please keep reaching out and asking questions, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Cass. Thanks, Steve, for your valuable time and for providing those insights. See you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.